The truth is an irony, just like animal farm. Justice mean inequity. So who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence. Islamic leaders silence. Kings and queens silence. Traditional leaders silence. So who go say the truth? We are them go so confused the call. Now by area why no better. We are them go so confused the call. One guy's out here why no better. Who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Oh, he need it now, see what I see so. Now your friend on a nine come as them. Only papi obeka nice and yeah. So I want to bet you too. Everybody was afraid. And when you nan to my cottage, I get 9. Once my boy dumping one and I see. But who go tell the truth? Nanai or say me. Nanso bien person beka wasam because everybody is afraid. Aya safwe muayini. Aku drop for nyina dalima. And who go say the truth? Obiaja konson so to grow Germansa to me be a cacobrafo. Efo anyina ye. Efo. When you know ye. Na so kutrata down na so be dia back or why no keke. I fene for be man mo pia for efo. Ne cross on my mo. Hanya safwe mo ayini. Aku drop for you na dalima. And who go say the truth? Abaya di bote chino. Yedi bi bebo nyande bi. Kachi sa udi oma upipi numa. Would your mind never shine my frafonsa? But who go tell the truth? TUC silence. Even journalists silence. Oh, then who go say the truth? Right is right. Wrong is wrong, no matter how you justify. You say you wanna get rid of corruption. Someone want to help you. Now the person become your target. Jobless no they mean senseless. Poverty no they mean useless. One day them go resist.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to you, depending on which part of the world you are joining us today. If you are just tuning in, this is another edition of MyView show live on Today Ghana News TV. Also live on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Twitch, on all your favorite social media handles. Before we proceed with any discussion for today, I would like to quickly send an apology to our cherished viewers and audience of the show. Last week, we were unable to join you because of a few technical hitches that we encountered. Fortunately, those have been resolved, and we are back here live to serve you yet another edition of your exciting dinner show. Every weekend, every beginning of the week, we make sure that we give you the best dinner in town by serving you with the most topical issues as they relate to Africans and Ghanaians in Ghana and in the diaspora. And just because last week we were not able to serve you, we are sure that you must have been starving. So we want to make it up to you by serving you the best that we have served you in a long time, and by serving you the best, not only in terms of the topic for discussion, but in terms of the guest for today. This week, we are delving into a topic which other people might see as sensitive. But for us on MyView show, on Today Ghana News TV, no topic is too sensitive. No topic is too delicate. We know how to maneuver all those terrains and to bring you the best issues that there is. And for today, we are going to try and look at something that is to blend religion and politics. And our topic for today's discussion is Muslim voices in politics, the role of the Zongos in the political development of Ghana. To help us digest this topic, we are very fortunate to have a very esteemed guest joining us for today. And our guest for today is in the person of Dr. Said Billah. Dr. Said Billah is the managing consultant of Study Consult Ghana. He doubles as the chairman of NDC Dortmund branch in Germany. And he is going to help us digest this topic for discussion today. Welcome to the show, Dr. Billah.
Thank you very much, Albert, for having me, and I am honored to be around. And as I told you the other time, I don't want my name to be prefixed with doctor. So please just call me Said Billah. That'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Well, always humble as always.
Thank you.
It would be difficult to get accustomed to, but we would see. Here on Today Ghana News TV, we take peculiar interest in getting to know our guest a little bit more. And as such, we are informed that fortunately, a few months ago, was it, or a few weeks ago, you returned from the holy pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Is that the case?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam. Yes, that is true, actually. We Muslims believe that this is a call, and I was honored and lucky to be called, and God being so wonderful, I was able to answer. Yes, it's true.
Wonderful.
From Hajj, yes.
To God be all the praise and glory.
Yes.
And we are grateful that he's been able to resource you to be able to undertake such a journey.
Yes, very, very important. And yes. I think now that is about the last part of the pillars of Islam, and God being so great. It's like we are now on track to purify and intensify all that we are doing. Alhamdulillah.
Wonderful. Yes. That's exciting. That's good to hear.
Yes.
As we say in Ghana or in Africa, that means you are one of the freshest alhajis in town. We are fortunate.
Another title.
I just
I'm trying to fight it, but it's not easy.
Yes,
but Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
But looking at your credentials, I also see something underneath that you are also the chairman of a political party, NDC in Dortmund. Is that also true?
Dortmund, actually, yes. I'm the NDC chairman for the Dortmund branch in Germany.
Oh, and wonderful. So,
yes.
and
I've been newly elected about some few months ago. Yes.
I guess that's another congratulations in your basket.
Thank you.
And how is your party doing? How is your branch doing?
It's a bit tricky. We are trying our best. In fact, I have a very, very strong secretary, and a doctor. He's also doing very, very well, and he's helping a lot. But for now, things are not going the way we want because, it's like, I don't know. I think it's always like that. A party coming into power always have these problems. People are so confident that sometimes you do things in a lackadaisical way, and it can be a little bit worrying. But if not, we are actually trying our best. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we wish you all the best in
Yes.
that regard.
And my greetings to Dr. Anderson and all the people in Dortmund. And I hope some of them are with us now.
Wonderful, wonderful.
That's our secretary.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so this quite interesting. So you are on the one hand, you are freshly returned from a holy pilgrimage, and you are also a politician. How are you able to get this blend of these two things that we can say are the two extremes or two polar opposites? How are you able to blend them personally in your private life?
Yes, okay, thank you very much. And when you talk about my personal life, it has to do with time management, actually. And most often than not, we are in Europe, working, attending meetings and conferences and social life and family and all that, blending all that with political activities. And of course, as you just said, as a Muslim, and in fact, the next few minutes, it will be time for prayers, Maghrib, which I should go to pray, but unfortunately, I'm here. I will pray and hope that the Almighty would accept and know that what we are doing is also important, even though there's nothing important that you can skip prayers. But I'm hoping that I'll still get the time within the Maghrib time to pray Maghrib, because this is time for Maghrib right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So for
So
you,
that is to tell you how tricky it is to be doing all this together.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I get this one angle of time management, but there's
Yes.
also another angle where you probably try to blend these two things that seem to have difficulties in coexisting. And I'm going to let me put it this way. Politics have been noted notoriously for being a game that people consider to be dirty, full of trickery, lies, deceit, and all the vices that people tend to associate with to things associated with politics. On the other extreme is religion, that is supposed to show us the virtues of life and all the things that we are supposed to aspire to be. So let's before we narrow in on your particular religion, do you think that in the world that we live today, there is space for these two extremes to be able to coexist harmoniously?
Yes, it's an interesting question, but when it comes to Islam, in fact, religion per se, I think most religions, and especially Islam, is about how you live your life. And Islam is actually a religion that is determined your total way of life, including whatever you do secular and spiritual. And so therefore, I think as a Muslim that Islam or the religion can coexist with politics, because if you consider politics or governance to be something that is you need to do, is a process that is for the good of the people, then definitely as Muslims, it means it is part and parcel of our lives. And so, and you remember or a Nigerian, I don't know, I think it's Bolaji, something, Bolaji Do, who said that the African, especially by nature, is incurably religious. And so if the African is incurably religious, then it means whatever the African is doing, everything about the African is religion. And of course, we are Africans, we are Muslims, we are Christians, and all that. So our religious lives entails political life as well. And so therefore, I think of necessity, Islam or religion and politics should and can coexist. Yes.
But you know, in the world that we live today, there are some countries, say like France, that tries to draw a clear distinction between the state and religion.
Religion, yes.
The state to them is supposed to be secular.
Yes.
Okay, and religion is what it is. It's about God, and that these two should not be brought together because of reasons best known to them. Yes. Is it your contention that it is still possible to have, in a secular society, to still have religion and politics go hand in hand?
Unfortunately, Western societies are a bit challenged, so to speak, when you talk of religion. And in fact, if you ask most people in these societies, wouldn't even be able to tell you the type of religion they are practicing. So sometimes people say they are Christians or they are in a Christian country. The country is Christian or they are secular, there's no religion, but all that they do, you think that they are kowtowing to a particular religion, even though that religion is not as it should be. And so people trying to say that they will sort of take people out of their religion in order to either rule them or either let them obey the system will have it difficult at the end of the day, because when you come to certain religions, especially people who are really, really religious and they know their religion, at the end of the day, it's about what they are doing that entails their religion, including going to work, including meeting friends, including going to the beach. So your dress, how you dress at the beach, determines whichever religion you are. So in this society, sometimes in a tiny bikini tells you are a Christian or you are a Western democracy. But at the same beach, somebody will be there and want to wear a burkini, as they come to call it. So it is a bit tricky. So it's difficult, and usually they have it very, very, very difficult. It's a difficult task. Separating them.
Yeah, yes. But from the responses you are giving, you seem to paint a narrative that politics and religion can coexist, and that to the extent that religion dictates your way of life, which is not very far away from what politics does, that these two are not things that can be separated that much. So being a devout Muslim, do you think...
I try to be.
Trust me, I know you try, and I know you are.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah.
What's your position on this matter? Do you think that Muslims should get involved in politics, or it is something that they can just leave to those who are political to be political while they concentrate on their religiosity?
Yes, in fact, when you consider Muslims being part of politics, one might want to look at why politics. So maybe if you think politics is important or politics has something to offer society, then as of necessity, Muslims should be involved. Of course, let me give a disclaimer here. I am not a learned person. I don't have any religious authority. So whatever I am saying here is my personal opinion. And if I say anything wrong, it is me saying something wrong, and may may God forgive us all and then forgive me. But if I see anything that is right and is good, then Alhamdulillah, it is from God. But I don't expect people to take what I am saying hook, line, and sinker, thinking that that is something authoritative. No, I am just an ordinary person. I'm just trying to share my view on modernity, modern way of life, because I think I've been around for some time. So for sure, albeit I'm older than you, so I've seen a number of years. I've seen a number of years, and maybe my experience living in a number of societies, some few Western societies. So I think I can say something, not to say anything authoritative. So it is great when you come to it's Muslims participating in politics, but this is a gray area because some of the people, I mean, the learned people, the people in authority, tell us that you shouldn't even venture into it because at the end of the day, you do things that modern day politicians are seen to be doing. It's like it will be very difficult for you as a devout Muslim or somebody who wants to follow your religion religiously to be able to do it and I mean to do politics and still be a good Muslim. But of course, there are so many ways of being in politics. It can be frontline or it can be at the background and all that. But even in frontline politics, what is the purpose of politics? Because if if you look at even the prophet, actually, may peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, he was a political leader as well as a religious leader. And so he was the chief, I mean, he was the commander in chief of his army, and he was actually a man that was embodied in both politics and secular and religious. So, therefore, I think as Muslims, we can, but one should be able or should try as much as possible. And here I say try because, especially when you think of Ghana, it's not going to be easy for you to say you are a politician and don't behave like most politicians. Because in our, not only in Ghana, in most societies now, politicians are seen to be, I mean, you know the synonyms that are linked to politicians. So it is not something very nice to be called a politician. So I'm not a politician.
I think
we are trying to make change in Ghana.
I think that ship has since sailed from you. It's not you. It's be difficult to convince any other person that you are not a politician when you are the branch chairman of a political party.
No, but okay. Anyway, let's go ahead. So that is it actually.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think that if I remember the some of the lessons I got from my political science class. I think some of the things that one of the definitions of politics was that politics is the authoritative allocation of resources,
Yes.
right? Yes. And that politics is what who determines who gets what, when, how, what, and who pays.
Yes.
Right. So all of these things cannot be done in isolation to religion, because when somebody is paying taxes, of course, the person is entitled to some benefits.
Benefits, yeah.
And if people are paying taxes, they want to get involved in determining who gets what, how, when, and who pays.
Yeah.
So I get the import of what you are saying.
Yes.
The thing is,
and if I can add to that, because like you said, the resources, the allocation of resources in the society is done through the political means. And if you want to have your share of what is being allocated in society, you must, of necessity, be on the table. And you can only be on the table if you present yourself to be voted for. And presenting yourself to be voted for means doing politics. And so, therefore, for me, I think imagine President Pilpu of my MP. What is,
Central.
dominated? What is dominated by
Okay.
Muslims? Is a Muslim-dominated community. So, if Albert, you come to as a Christian stand in War Central, you may win, but people will think that you are not going to represent our interests in some other ways. When we were in secondary school, it's a long time ago, there was we didn't have holidays like we have now, like this festive holidays. I remember my O level, one of my papers, I wrote it on an Eid day.
Mm-hmm.
It can't happen now.
On
the Eid, on the day of the Eid, that is the day that Muslims will have to. I think it was the major Eid, the Eid al-Adha, where children would have to go and pray and feast and marry. But I had my paper to write that day. And so, but now, because of the contribution of Muslims in the political, system in Ghana, nobody will write paper on the Eid day because it's a holiday now. It's a public holiday. So that is, in effect, what I'm saying. So if you come in, you can have your voice, you can have a say, and you may be listened to. Yes.
So in effect, you need to be on the table in order to be heard, and in order for your concerns to be factored into the conversation, for you to be considered at all when the resources are being allocated.
Yes.
Wonderful. So if this is the case, how do you think, or is it possible for Muslims to practice politics in a manner? We have, in this conversation, we have gone on from how there is this perception of politics being a dirty game, being associated with everything that is evil. But we also know that religion is the most extreme version of piety. So how can Muslims practice politics in a manner that would bring these two extremes together so that we can get the best of both worlds? We can get politics being done in a nice manner, and we can also get religious people who are also engaged in politics.
This, I think we may need to get some people to help us with this question, because I can only give, the little I know, and I think that is what we should be looking at, is about the persons, the personalities. And this may not just limit to Islam, both religions, whichever religion, not even, other religions, including traditional and all those religions. It has to do with the personality, the people involved, because there are people who are not actually so religious, yet they are very, very clean, and they do politics that you admire. Of course, religion, as you said, is the extreme part of, piety. People try to espouse their piety through religion. So, if we have people who are religious, then they should always think about what society would think about them, and how responsible they should be towards their God, because at the end of the day, it's about your God if you are so religious. And so I was even thinking that if we have people who are upright religiously playing politics, we will even have a cleaner and a better society than if we have people who don't care about God or religion at all. Because at the end of the day, you are not doing it for people. You are doing it at the back of your mind, knowing that you are accountable to the supreme being who will hold you accountable. And so, whatever agreement or engagement you are going in, you have it at the back of your mind that one day, even if the people will not vote for me, but there's one God who is seeing that what I'm doing is right. And so if I don't bribe or I don't give people money for the vote, but I even fail, but the God will be happy with me. And if you think that that should be our aim as Muslims or Christians wanting to please our God, then we should actually have a clean and very, very good political platforms.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I would want us to pause a little.
Okay.
But before we go on a short break, I would want you to contemplate this. So far, we have been talking about politics and religion and Islam in broad terms.
Yes.
When we return from the break, we are going to narrow down on the party that you support and religion and Ghana. And we'll try to blend this into a very nice dessert for our audience after serving them dinner this evening. If you are just tuning in, this is another exciting edition of my view show on Today Ghana News TV. We are live on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on all your favorite social media handles. We're also live on FM 93.7 in Akinhimai in the eastern region of Ghana. And we're also live in Sakina Information Center in Tetali in northern Ghana. We are going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll move to the next part of our show. Don't change your dial. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today's Ghana News TV is 2 years old, and we continue to give you the very best. Within our 2-year period, we have introduced our newspaper, the Evening Tribune. Tribune, when it comes, tribulation, you should expect it. It comes with all the hardcore news items, and we report it as it is, as you see it, and as you hear it. So do make a date with us. It comes out every Wednesday, so Thursday morning is right up there. Get a copy of it and get more informed. Do get in touch with us, and we have any article, we will do the publication for you.
I'm Edna Sabonia. Join me on Today Ghana News TV for news updates on every Friday at 18 hours GMT. News updates are sponsored by Top Connect. Send money everywhere, no fees. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Today Ghana News TV.
Hello. Welcome back to my view show on Today Ghana News TV. Live on all your social media handles, also live on Sakina Information Center in Tatali, and live in FM 93.7 in Akinhimai in the eastern region. Today, we are dealing with a topic of Muslim voices in politics, the role of the Zongos in political development of Ghana. And our guest for today is Dr. Said Bila. He is the managing consultant of Study Consult Ghana and also the chairman of NDC Dortmund branch in Germany. Before we rejoin our with our guest, we would like to take your comments before we join our guest again. And our first comment is from Tom Nutako. Hey, Uncle Tom, good evening. Uncle Tom says, good evening, Albert. I'm all ears. Yes, Uncle Tom, we are here to serve your ears with a wonderful discussion. Hope you are enjoying the show. Our next comment comes from Robert Kimpe. seated attentively watching from Paris, France. Robert, how is Paris? Hope you are doing well. Hey, Vice Chair, Umar Dennis says, good evening, my two dear profs. Alhaji Umar, I'm not sure that anybody will receive the title yet. The next comment comes from Asempahene Boachi. Good evening, my beautiful friends watching from Achinhimai. Good evening to all our listeners in Achinhimai. We hope you are doing well and that you are enjoying the show. Our next comment comes from Osei Superior. Osei Superior, welcome to the show today. Hope you are having fun. Comrades, I am sending you my greetings from Barcelona, Spain. Thank you very much for joining us, Osei Superior, always with us. Our next comment comes from Nana Tafrim. The NDC recognizes the role of the Muslims. This is why we are able to get Muslim public holidays in Ghana. Greetings from Tatali, Northern Ghana, and from Sakina Information Center listeners. Thank you to all the listeners of Sakina Information Center in Tatali for always joining us all the time and for contributing to this show. Our next comment comes from NDC Diaspora Union. And the NDC Diaspora Union says, politics is not a dirty game, but it is dirty people in politics that make it dirty. We need good and honest people in our politics. Indeed, we need good and honest people, just as our guests have been telling us during this show. Our next comment comes from Patina Badu. Good evening, Mr. Host, and your special guest. Good evening to you, Patty. Our next comment comes from Mavis Boating. Mavis Boating says, politics is not meant for crooks, but crooks have found their way into politics to make it dirty. Greetings from Lisbon, Portugal. Greetings to you, Mavis, and thank you for joining us. Patty once again says, interesting topic you're treating today, watching you live from Hanover. Thank you very much, Madam Pat, for your comment, and hope you and your people of Hanover are doing very well. Kontinana, sure. The late Prof. Mills is a typical example of clean politician watching from Warsaw, Poland. Kontinana, thank you for always making time to join us and to watch us. Our next comment comes from Alanda Chisa, I hope I got your name right. And you say watching from Frankfurt, more vim to our guest for today. Malik Dramani Mahama says, it is not also the case that our Zongo, which are predominantly Muslim, tagged vigilante and are used during elections and dumped as the Zongos are left undeveloped. Are politicians therefore not taking undue advantage of Muslims by some politicians? Okay, I think probably, Mr. Producer, remind me, I would like to address this to our guest when he rejoins us. Mohammed Koroku Abdul Rahman, Alhaji Dr. Said Bila, I'm sending my greetings from Wa. All the way from Wa. Thank you for joining us, Abdul Rahman. Hope the good people of Wa are doing quite well. Our next comment comes from Mark. But hey, today the Bedu family, you are well tuned into the show. Thank you very much for watching from Hanover. Great job by Comrade Albert and your guest. Great job to you and Madam Patty for joining us always on the show, and hope you are having a nice time. So we welcome back our guest for today, Said Bila. But before he does, we have Suzanne Gross watching from Duisburg, Germany. Thank you for the interesting discussion. Thank you very much for watching. And our guest is rejoining us. Dr. Bila, you ran away from your title. You even run away from your Alaji title. But Alaji Umar has elevated you to professor. So
And you as well.
Yes.
Master
Nice.
man, thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Nice and interesting. Always interesting. Thank you very much, Alaji Umar, for your comment and for tuning in. So if you are joining us, this is another exciting edition of MyView show, live on Today Ghana News TV, on all your social media networks, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, and we're also live on Sakina Information Center in Tatali, and also live in Hin FM, in the 3.7 FM in Achunhima in the Eastern region. Mr. Said, before we went on the break, we were discussing politics as they are generally. Yes. But now we would like to narrow in to, let's say, the party that you support or the party that you follow, and also to events in Ghana and also politics as they are related or interrelated. In recent times, this may be my personal observation, but in recent times, there seem to be some kind of a tough fight between the two major political parties in Ghana, i.e., the NDC and the MPP, for the Muslim communities in general.
Yes.
This is probably what has led to some people in your party. I think you will call it a group, the Zungo Caucus.
Yes.
And in the MPP, I think they also have a similar version. The Nasara group. Yes. In the MPP. What is your take on this line of engagement or this tough fight? What's your take on this development?
And do you know that actually I'm supposed to be the secretary for the Zungo Caucus in Germany as well?
Oh, wonderful.
So it's fine. So of course, that is actually one of the things, because I think when you look at the political history of Ghana, especially for the inception of the Fourth Republic, the Zungus, and especially the Muslim community, we all knew. We grew up to know that when you talk of NDC, it's synonymous to actually the Zungus. So much so that Rollins was nicknamed Alaji. And when we were in the Zungos, if you go to any Zungo community and say, Yara Yara Mekuko so, those days, if you say Yara Yara Mekuko so, mean kiss, what do you want? They'll say Alaji JJ Melema. You want Alaji JJ, the umbrella man. So it was NDC actually. We were all NDC. But of course, you know the dynamics, what happened after Rollins and all that. So things started changing, and the MPP realized that there is political capital in the Zungos. And so they thought they need to infiltrate. And that brought about them constantly featuring a Muslim vice president. Anytime, in fact, this is not NDC. NDC is not like that. But MPP, anytime there's, of course, MPP is also, at that time when we knew NDC was more or less like the Northerners and the Voltarians, NPP was the Akan party. And so they realized that without the Zungus, they cannot get political power in Ghana. So they had to get strategies. But fortunately, NDC relaxed, because what you have mostly you don't value. It's when you lose it that you realize that you've lost something. And so now NDC has realized that there's the need for them to actually look at the Zoom. So therefore, the need for Zongo caucus and all that, and they are now working towards it. Yes, so it's a constituency that you cannot do without, and so I think we the Zongos should also know that since we are a constituency that no political party can do without, then we need to also strategize and let them know that we can make the game. And so we go to the table and demand what is rightful ours. That is why we are doing something small here.
Okay. This brings me back to one of the comments, the comment from one of our viewers, Malik Dramani Mahama. And Malik seeks to question. He says that is it not the case that our Zungus, which are predominantly Muslim, they attacked, I think what he means by they attack violent, and during elections, the politicians seem to recruit people from this place to cause mayhem and take undue advantage of people in the Zungus. And after elections, then after the politicians have gotten their will, they dump the people in the Zungus and run away and only return to the Zungus when it's time for elections. Is that the case, or isn't that the case?
I wouldn't say that is the case, of course. And this also has some historical precedence. And I think the educational trajectory of Ghana is also a little bit, and that has to do, actually, I think it was the Muslims or Islam in those days, how Islam came to Africa, West Africa, or to our people. Yes, it's true that we have more illiterate. I mean, when I say illiterate, I mean Western education. We have more people who are not educated in the Western style education in the Zongos than other communities. That also has to do with those days when Islam came. People thought, going to school, this formal school was un-Islamic. And so some of us, we virtually became the first, in our families to get a little bit higher, so to speak, education. Because our fathers and mothers had reasons, and they were tangible reasons, because those days, you see, education was more or less like people who drink a lot, who party, do all nasty things. So our parents used to think that it is the school that is making people behave like that. And so, of course, the Zongos. So because of that, we have less Western educated colleagues in the Zongos. And so the less educated you are, the more you are prone to being used, taken advantage of. Because if you don't have a certificate to wait and the political party is in power and you get some work or something like they do, the freebies, you should, en masse of necessity, use either your body, your strength, or use something to tell the political party that here I am, I'm also contributing to your cause, and therefore, should you come to power, I also should have something. And so most of them will use their body and they will try to be violent, and that is where you see a lot of them being vigilantes. And they don't do it because they just doing it for the politicians. They try to do it for themselves, thinking that they will get something. Of course, as we are saying, the politicians as they are, if they were clean, they will know that this is a resource. And so they could mobilize it, use it productively, and develop the Zongos. But they use it, like somebody said, like Malik said, and then after the elections, they think that we don't need you, and so therefore, since we are not accountable to God, and it's you, we paid you, You came out, we gave you money to eat good food and build your bodies, and so therefore it's enough. And the monies that they use to feed you, do all that, they have to recoup. They have to get those monies back. So if I give you money for your vote, you don't expect me, when you vote for me, to come and give you anything again because I paid for the vote. So in fact, it's a win-win. The people in the Zongos take something from the politicians, and the politicians also get their votes, and so they are gone. So for me, I don't think it's you can say that they've been damned. Both try to take advantage of the other. But at the end of the day, of course, the politicians now have the resources of the nation, and so therefore they should be able to allocate it and then make good use of those. That resource. Yeah, unfortunately, they don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I get the case you are making, it would be that there's resource either way, but the politicians should be able to draw on the positive side of it.
Exactly. And channel it productively
for the development of the country and for the personal development of those involved in it as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You in your earlier submission, you talked about this thing about this connection between your party, the NDC, and the Zongo communities.
Yes.
Is there some kind of symbiotic relationship that exists between the NDC and then the Zongo communities that probably is linked to some kind of historical antecedents that naturally draw people from the Zongos to the NDC?
Yes. If you see how NDC came into being, it was like, NDC came through the revolution. And you know what caused the revolution, because Ghana was in the hands of some few. And unfortunately, the Zongos were not part of those few. So when the revolution came, the Zongos were actually more or less a little bit more represented in the revolution, and then the subsequent PNDC government, and then the NDC than the previous government. So because of that, the NDC actually had a constituency from day one. And if you look at even apart from the chairman of the PNDC, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, those that were closely behind him mostly were from the Zongos, or at least Muslims. And so if you remember Alhaji Mama Idrisu, who was the Secretary for Defense, you remember Hudu Yahya Nko, Ibrahim Ali, Ibrahim Mama, and some very, very prominent Ghanaian Muslims were part of the revolution. And in fact, they were core. And so automatically, it trickled down to the Zongos. And then, so NDC to date, I always tell my people that there's no political party in Ghana that can claim to be more diverse and more inclusive than NDC. There's no political party in Ghana as that yet.
Yes. Interesting. So, yes. Considering this linkage that you have drawn between NDC and then the Zongo communities, how do you think that the Zongo communities or the Muslim communities in general can contribute to the electoral fortunes of the NDC party in the elections of 2024?
Yes, there are so many ways. We are thinking about them and we are strategizing on them. I told you I'm not a politician, I'm a strategist. So in fact, there is one school of thought that people that help with remittance when it comes to the diaspora are more from the Zongos than any other constituency. Most of them are there. And it has to do with our background. We are mostly poor. And so a family of maybe about 50 people, when I say family of 50 people listening from the West will not understand, because we have extended families. And so a family can be up to about 50 people. And when they are able to get one person to live, sometimes some of them will come through the desert and through the sea, come to Europe or to the Americas. Then it is like now that's the cocoa, their cocoa, because in the other side, in the south, they have the cocoas. So this person must of necessity send a lot of money home. And so the monies that we send home should be our capital, because when there are other initiatives, as I was telling some people in one of our meetings, and of course, there are more listeners here. So it is in-house. We have some groups, there are some organizations in Germany that are helping some, small scale businesses and all that. And we are exploring to see how we can help our communities back home. And so with that, you can make a phone call and decide on how somebody should vote. Because there's a proverb that he who pays the piper help me
Sorry?
determine the tune. If the one who pays the piper determines the tune or something like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are helping our people back home this much, then we should be able to tell them or advise them how they should vote. And there are so many other places, other areas that we can support by maybe donating, helping them to get the things that they want, adapting some of the constituencies or the polling stations. It's also another issue that we should be doing, especially from the diaspora. So there are so many ways, but I don't think we should be discussing that here because some are strategic.
Yeah, and as you said, you are a strategist. You are not a politician, even though you are the branch chairman of your party.
You want to remind everybody.
All right. So all too soon, we are almost at the tail end of our show for today. But before we bow out and close for today, do you have any message that you would want to deliver to members of the Zongo caucus here in Germany, and also members of the Muslim community in Ghana in general?
Yes, I got a comment from Wa. In fact, I'm very very pleased with with guy Jack Koroko. That's the name, Mohammed Koroko. He's
Okay.
he's my main man, and he's watching. I'm happy to know that he's watching.
I think you have another comment from Carl W. Benjamin, also watching from Wa.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So it seems you have a lot of audience from Wa today.
Okay. That's strange. That's interesting. Thank you very much. Yes. So in fact, you see, when you talk about especially the Zongo caucus, it has to, or the Zongo community is about Islam. And there are so many, there are so many, I've seen somebody watching from Nigeria actually.
Oh, wonderful.
From Abuja. So there are so many quotations, even from the Quran and the hadith of the prophets that talk about politics of course, we wouldn't see it to be politics, but it has to do with about obedience to the constituted authority. That's obedience. So there are so many verses, sort of Azab, Nisa, Muhammad, and so many verses in the Quran. I don't have to go there. So, and it's all encouraging Muslims to obey those in authority amongst you. And so if even the Quran and the Prophet is telling us to obey, he didn't say we should obey Muslim leaders. He said we should obey those that are in authority. So therefore, we should of necessity try to influence those that are coming to be in authority. And we can only do that if we, get involved actively and try to get the people to vote for us, those people who would have the interests of the nation at heart and would also satisfy our religious obligations, so that we don't vote for people who would, at the end of the day, dictate and become dictators like we are seeing right now, and then it will be actually a disservice even to Islam. So I will encourage our Muslim brothers and sisters to also be active and then participate actively so that we can decide who should be our leaders and don't regret. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Said S. Bila, managing consultant of Study Consult Ghana,
yes,
and also the chairman of NDC Dortmund branch in Germany, for your wonderful delivery. Today, I can tell you for a fact that our audience are global in nature, ranging from Africa to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia.
I'm honored.
Everybody has tuned in today to tap into your words of wisdom and your wise counsel. And we are grateful to you for your time and for joining us. We hope that when we knock again on your door, you shall be there and you shall open your door.
Thank you for having me, Albert. In fact, you are doing wonderful, and I hope and pray that the Almighty would guide you and support you so that you can reach more people. You are doing well. So thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to have this opportunity in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Bila. And also thank you very much to all our viewers and our listeners, those who joined us on social media handles, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitch, and all other social media handles, and those who joined us from Sakina Information Center in Tetali, and those who joined us from FM 97.3 in Himai in the eastern region of Ghana. Thank you for joining us today and for having dinner with us. Next week, we shall be back to serve you yet another exciting edition of MyView show. Next week, we are crossing the boundaries of Ghana, and we are extending our topic to West Africa, to a topic that is very delicate to the very existence, not only of Ghana, but of the entire sub-region. You will not want to miss this show. So tune in same time next week, where we shall be here to serve you hot dinner in a manner that you would enjoy it. I have been your host for today, Albert Alan Dachie, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.
Mampam osontie so dogo binwa bem mampam osontie nani amuka nyina guna swati move swara mampam osontie move swara mampam osontie